Hey there YouTube, it's been a while. I apologize for that. I've got plenty of excuses, but we won't bore you with that. Just really wanting to get the old Galaxie on the road soon here, and it just seems like it's been running worse and worse lately. The float stuck or something going on in the carburetor. It was pumping fuel all over the intake. I thought maybe it was my electric fuel pump just overpowering the float, but I put a mechanical pump on there that I had laying here, and still doing that. So anyway, a lot of junk in the carburetor. I rebuilt it 2 years ago when I bought the car, and even with I think 3 fuel filters on there right now, just getting pretty dirty in there. Also the gauge, I don't know that it has ever worked. I guess I've never put too much fuel in, but it doesn't move. I don't know if it's the gauge or if it's the sending unit, but I just decided it's time to start over if I want this thing to be a reliable car on the road. We got a new fuel tank, I got a new sending unit. We'll go ahead and test that wiring when we have the tank out. Just make sure I'm not going to mess around with a used sending unit in a new tank, but we'll also be able to check the trunk floor and maybe paint up the straps, see what that looks like. I'm going to try to get it torn apart here tonight. Not real sure how windy it is here, but North Dakota evening. We've got sunshine over there. Looks like it could. Oh, we got a little rainbow. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. Probably a lot of wind. Looks a little ugly. Anyway, one of the reasons that I told you I wasn't going to tell you about that the car hasn't done much lately, we were on vacation out in Montana. While we were in Yellowstone, I got a call that I had about 5 inches of rain, or 5 inches of water in the basement after we had gotten 8.5 inches of rain overnight. So the power was out, my pumps couldn't work, and we've been dealing with that ever since. So the Galaxie's kind of been on the back burner. That's fine, but it's time to get her going here. I got a few other things in the works, some parts sitting here that still need to be put on, so we'll get right to this. One problem we're going to have is that tank is clearly thicker than my clearance, so we're going to have to fire the car up and address that. Should give us a little more clearance. Now we can get a jack under there at least. We'll get that crusty old tank out of there. The other thing is, with the fuels we're running today, I don't think those old rubber lines would last too long. So we'll go ahead and put new rubber line everywhere. Maybe blow that steel line out while we have things open. Alright, I pulled the fuel line off and the sending unit wire, and then it started getting wet enough out there that we just decided to abort the mission for the evening. I did find out that there was enough fuel in there that obviously the gauge or the sending unit is not working. I was never real sure how much fuel has been in there. I just put a little in here and there just to make sure it doesn't die on me, but starting to look like I'm maybe going to get a little more than I thought. This is unfortunate because everywhere around us is burning up. 2 weeks ago we had 8.5 inches in approximately an evening, and overnight I guess, and we keep getting rain since then. So alright, we've got the sending unit here. I did finish it raining here, I think about 3/10 in about 10 minutes, my wife said, so that will keep everything nice and wet. My daughter did just get done mowing the lawn, so I guess that's a plus, but I'm going to get the sending unit put in here. I did check the new one, 10 ohms 80 ohms, full and empty. Just wanted to check that because, of course, you never know what you're going to get anymore. This was built, this is a COVID sending unit, so made in Taiwan. Who knows what we've got there. Here's the gasket they send with it. I did read a review on that sending unit that the gasket was kind of cheesy. Here's the gasket that comes with the tank, so I think we know which one we'll be using. We'll go ahead and throw that in there. Pardon my mess. Any of you that follow the channel know that I've always got a mess, but my basement flooring is all in here. If you live in a water prone area, highly recommend this stuff. Plastic on the bottom, carpet on top. We do have some that are kind of a tile finish on top. They all just snap together. Two sides have the loops, two sides have the hooks. Works really well. The kids rinsed them off, soaped them up, rinsed them off again, and should be no mold problems. Once the basement is completely done, throw it back in there. The rest of the garage is completely full also. Basement stuff. So anyway, no complaining. Just not much room to work on a car. As you can see, this thing doesn't seem to want to line up very well. Concerns me how many times we have to do this, because I don't know if you can see that, but my joint there is not confidence inspiring. It just kind of seems to me like that float should go past there. Almost like I'm not getting this on all the way. There's just so much tension on there. Maybe we'll put it in the vise so I'm not holding on to all of this stuff trying to make this happen. That, or I guess I could put the float over here. I suppose if I took the old one out, I'd be able to see what it's supposed to look like. Guess it doesn't go much further. Alright guys, I've got the sending unit in, but I don't have just a ton of confidence in this thing. This ring sits in here pretty sloppy. I can get one tab to come out if I pry with my screwdriver. It's just there's too much of a gap in here. I don't think it's the fault of the sending unit. I think we just got a goofy ring here, but I'm gonna go ahead. It still doesn't seem to seal. I don't know, maybe you can see that, or I'm just pushing the O-ring around up in the top there. I don't think you can probably see that, but it's moving. Maybe on a screen bigger than my camera screen, a person could see that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put a cap on here and pressure test it, but that's, well, for you guys it's going to be a couple seconds. For me, it might be a couple hours or a couple days. Alrighty. One other thing I'm noticing, I don't know, I guess I don't know a lot about this stuff, but we have an R06 on the ring on the tank. We have a GLR03 on this lock ring that came with the tank, and the bag says L006. So I'm not sure if the L006 and the R06 are supposed to be a pair, and we ended up with an 03. Possibly that's our problem. Anyway, we'll do a little research, and we might end up using a lock ring off of the old tank. I bet that'll fit in here. Alright guys, much more beautiful night tonight. We'll set the camera down, get this tank out of here. Get a good look at our trunk floor now. Looks like we've been saving some dirt. Look at this. Quite nice. Protected by the fuel tank, actually. I took about 10 gallons of fuel out of here, and this was the last of it. Some pretty nice stuff there. That's probably from the fuel tank strap when it was coming loose. Anyway, we're going to pull this sending unit out. I want to see how that ring might fit in the new tank, since we're struggling with that. Hope this hammer's going to be big enough. Only one I can find in short notice here. Looks like this ring fits about as well as the other one does. Let's just see how they fit. Expected that in 1964, but I guess we have probably American made from 64 or offshore from 2020. Oh my. Have a look at that. I can't figure out why that one wouldn't work. It's a little crusty, and the sock is sort of missing too. It's hard to believe. Maybe go and get our other sending unit just to compare. See if we can see why it doesn't fit. It also sort of feels like our float might be full of fuel. Also hard to believe, I know. Maybe I should just cram the new sending unit in this tank. It has an O-ring. New tank does not have an O-ring. Let's see if we can see inside of there at all. Oh yes. I can see in there. I don't know if you can. Pretty good stuff. So here's our Spectra F57D tank. You can get this on Amazon or Fleabay, or probably from any number of other old Ford suppliers. I don't know. It's made in Canada. Look at that. Doesn't look like it's quite the same shape. I hope it fits up in there. I could be kind of curious, to say the least. Anyway, we just want to grab this sending unit here and do some comparing quick. Looks pretty close, with the exception of my sock goes a lot further, which I think is why we can't get that thing to go down. I'll let that keep draining right where I want to lay pretty quick. This also has this custom 90-degree chop there, which I guess doesn't matter when the sock is on. This has a little bit lower, or an angle on there at least, but I think we need to figure out how to get this sock just a little further on there, almost to the end of that, and I think it's going to fit a lot better. I'll maybe just take a drill bit that fits there, see if it gets tight, see if I can open that up just a little bit. Alright, I all but destroyed this sock here. It is going to stay, or it is going to hold, I think. But I did get it to approximately the same length as the old sock. So I think that's going to fit a lot better. It's going to allow us to seal this. We still have our O-ring groove in the old tank. This one here has almost like an inverted O-ring groove. Maybe they got the casting mixed up, or the stamp, sorry. That has almost a perfect O-ring groove on the inside, I believe. But hopefully this flat gasket will work. We got a square cut one with it, which probably would work pretty well on the original tank. But that's not gonna work for us. We're gonna have to use what the tank came with. And maybe, if I don't have quite so much pressure trying to hold this at the wrong angle, because it now won't fit in there all the way, maybe have a good chance of this sealing. I am going to try to cap it. Oh yeah, that's going to have an actual chance of sealing now. I don't think that other ring is going to be any different. Well, let's try it actually. I think it's the same shape, but I also think it's a lot stronger than the one that I have. Alright, as noted before on video and on different Facebook forums that I've found, this tank is indeed a tank for a 63 Galaxie, often marketed as a tank for 60 to 64. I guess the main tank shape and size is probably similar, but 63 is vented, has this little vent down here, and then this is curved quite a bit, where ours is supposed to be straight. So I'm going to cut it off on this black line, spin this 180, and hopefully we'll just have a little bit of a slide for our fuel to come in, I guess. We're going to give that a try. If it doesn't work, we'll hack it off straight here, and then we'll figure out, and we'll put our we'll cut the filler neck off of our old tank also and do it that way. Very nice. Except that I had designs for having this angled down so none of the metal would go in there, and I forgot about that, but we'll not worry about that. We're also avoiding any safety by doing this with bare feet. I think we'll tack that in place and fit it up in there and see how that goes. Maybe it'll be easier to grab the other tank and just see how she lines up. That could be close enough, but it's also far enough off that I think we better do a test fit in the car. I think we can make this work. Fit in there very nice. Alright, back out for our weld. Alright, we've got our tank undercoated here with some rubberized undercoating. Here is our re-welded filler neck. And then one other thing I did was I just tacked a machine screw on this for grounding purposes. With this coated in the rubberized stuff, the straps are coated, and it just seemed like maybe wouldn't be a bad idea to have a ground screw on there also, just to make sure that we're going to get a good ground for our sending unit. So we'll go ahead and throw this back in. The other thing with the 63 tank, it is vented, so I will probably just get a short piece of hose and a bolt and plug that off, and then we'll use the vented cap that came with it. Here's our installed tank. We've got our vent hose, our vent pipe blocked off. We'll get this hooked up with a new piece of hose. We've got our sending unit wire, and we'll get a ground wire on there. And here's our fitment in there. Maybe not perfect, not quite what the 64 was, but it's going to work just fine just by cutting that and flipping it 180 degrees. Alright, we've got a moment of truth here. We have the tank in, we have about 6 gallons of fuel in there, and we have no leaks on the ground, so that was one big hurdle. Now we're going to go see if we have a fuel gauge, and we haven't bothered to go ahead and put a ground wire on where I made a possibility for one, but at least we have the stud there. A lot easier to put a wire on than to weld on a freshly filled tank. Look at this. We have a gas gauge trying to come to life. It moved at least. Alright, I haven't been able to get the fuel gauge to move, so we have the car up in the air here. Quite a bit actually. But I can get my big belly under there, and I've grounded the wire for the gauge. And as you can see, we are well over full, which is not true. But I'm going to take that. I don't know if I can get this here. I'm going to drop my ground wire quick. Now we'll ground it again. So I think we can determine that our gauge is good, our wiring is good. So I'm going to actually hook up the ground wire on the fuel tank where I had put the stud on there, and then we'll let the car back down and see how it looks. So here's our finished sending unit, the yellow wire being the sending unit wire and the blue wire being just a ground cable that we ran a self-tapper into, and then our stud that we had welded on earlier. And now we should have a pretty good ground on our tank. As long as we're under here working, we're going to go ahead and adjust our address, which I guess will be adjust some misalignment on our airbag here. You can see with air in there, we are sitting at a bit of an angle front to back. So we have extra holes in this plate that's sandwiched under our lowering block. We can go forward one hole with that, or there's also holes in here. I may be able to go forward with that if I'm not too far offset. I'm going to look it over, see which way we need to go, and then get that bag aligned a little bit better. Here's proof that the car actually does run and drive. We did get the airbags lined up a little bit better, and our fuel gauge does work. It is somewhat inaccurate right now. Still sorting through that, but I did want to post this video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, like the channel, and we'll try to get this out on a more regular basis from now on. Thank you.